Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. My name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth. It is opening night in the National Football League. And with that said, I have my regular Thursday crew intact. Steve Balustrory, welcome back, Steve.
Great to be here, and football's back. Can't wait.
Yeah, and Melfar Jr., my resident running back, my pro, and everything that goes along with it. Welcome back, big fella.
Hey, it's great to be back. This is the best and worst time of the year. The best time of the year because football season started. Worst time of the year because every week that goes by is one less week of football season.
Pro. And
I love that.
well, with that said, Mrs. I love that. Everybody know about you, Jennifer Lewis, my professional counterpart who appears on a bunch of broadcasts. Bring it out, Jen.
Hi, thanks for having me again, Scott.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. And thank you, Steve, and thank you, Mel. I appreciate you both allowing me to crash again. And I'm excited about tonight's show.
All right, well, let me give everybody an overview of the show here. We're going to talk about the Rams and Buffalo Bills. We're going to get a little Detroit Lion talk. And, of course, we have a couple of other interesting matchups I'll get into short as well. And time permitting, we'll also have a crack at a couple Super Bowl predictions. So since I usually talk faster than an Indy car, but depending on how well I drive fast on I-75, 95, or interstate near you, we're still going to have a very good, rapid show, but people will hopefully understand me. If you got that, you all deserve an A1 credit there, so whatever. It is what it is. But before I go any further, I want to let everybody know to please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel or visit www.southfloridatribune.com and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, topic number one, Steve Balustrory. Will the Rams repeat?
I don't think so. I mean, we've seen how hard it is for teams to repeat in the Super Bowl. I mean, it hasn't been done since 03, 04. And there's a reason, because it's so hard just to even get there. You know, everything has to kind of fall into place, especially in terms of injuries. You know, I don't think they're going to get back. I think there's a lot of really strong teams this year. And I don't see them being in the Super Bowl this year.
Jennifer.
I'm really torn on this because I've heard it said that tonight's game, the Rams-Bills, is a precursor for the Super Bowl. That being said, they kept LBJ, and I'm not a big fan of his, and he's somewhat carcinogenic in a locker room. So we'll see if the Rams can repeat and if he stays positive and, in remission with his attitude.
Mel?
No, I don't think so. It's extremely difficult to repeat, as Steve was saying. And there's a lot of reasons. Injuries obviously is one of them. You kind of have a little hangover. Sometimes teams forget how hard they worked to get there the previous year, and they kind of think that it's just going to happen again. But the other thing is everybody's gunning for you. I mean, you have an X on your back saying that you're the Super Bowl champs. So you're going to get everybody's best effort week in and week out. And it's difficult. I mean, like Steve was saying, it's hard to get to the playoffs. It's hard to advance in the playoffs. And it's extremely difficult to get to the Super Bowl. It's probably why the Lions haven't been there. It's just that difficult.
Take on that Lions card, why don't you? Okay. The reason why he came a little late is because he only attended the Zoom party for a 77-year-old Detroit Lions Hall of Famer, Lem Barney. I'll give you your due. All right, I'll just voice my opinion on it. I'm not holding my breath that they will repeat it all because it is too difficult to do it. At that point, they were able to get over the hump. They had a lot of things go their way. So I'll bet against them. I like Matthew Stafford. Would I like to see it happen? Yeah. They added Allen Robinson, could certainly help. Aaron Donald, but they lost Von Miller, and that leads me to segue is, can the Buffalo Bills get over the hump? All right, I'm going to go back to where he started here, Steve Balustrory. What do you think? Can the Bills get it done?
I think they can. I mean, going into and all through last year, the strength of that team was that great defense. And, there was a question, can Josh Allen elevate his game, to take on guys like Mahomes and Brady, Rodgers, whoever? at all, I guess you could say. I thought he did that in the divisional game last year. I mean, they were going back and forth. He gives his team the lead with 19 seconds left in the game. I think it was 19. Right. And then what happens? The Bills end up losing. But I think they can get there. I think they're a really good football team. They got even better in the offseason. And I think they're hungry to get their name up on there.
Yeah, usually hunger does lead to a lot of good things. Go back to Jennifer, Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I think they'll get it done. Josh Allen is a phenomenal quarterback. Even Belichick went into the locker room after the game last year and congratulated Josh on a great game. So, yeah, I think it's time for the Bills to come back.
What do you think, Mel?
Yeah, they definitely have an opportunity to get there. They were close to getting there last year. Obviously, they have a bad taste in their mouth from how the season ended last year. So there's a hunger, there's a fire, there's a determination. Everything that they've done in the offseason is about getting back to that point and this time finishing and getting the opportunity to play for, play in the Super Bowl. So, and I think that, the additions that they've made to their team point to the fact that, they have a very, very good chance to make a strong run for the Super Bowl. Obviously, Kansas City's going to have something to say about that. There's going to be some other teams in the AFC. They're going to have a lot to say about that as well. Cincinnati, since they were there last year and they didn't win. But I think the Bills clearly are the favorites to win, to win the AFC and represent the AFC in the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills remind me a little bit of the bad boys with Pistons. You get so close, you really do get so close, and all of a sudden you get hungry at the beginning. All of a sudden, the degree of nastiness. One guy to watch out for with the Bills is former Florida Atlantic University running back Devin Singletary. He's a guy to watch out for. I'm wondering whether the departure of Brian Dable will affect Josh Allen or not. And of course, they have a lot of good wide receivers, so I'm not going to begin to mention them. But the hunger is there. If there's ever a year for the Bills to make any kind of a run, it's definitely got to be this one. I really do. You have a division with the AFC East, which isn't overly that strong, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later on, but we saw that the Patriots are in transition with Mac Jones, and we're going to get in Patriots Dolphins talk a little later. So the division, I definitely feel, is one that they should easily win. I don't see a team coming close to it. Get in the playoffs with that degree of nastiness and hunger. I think they have a great shot. I mean, again, their biggest opposition will win the Super Bowl from the NFC, and we'll get to maybe our predictions a little bit later. So I guess I'd go ahead and look at the Buffalo Bills myself as the favorite to come out of the AFC. With that said, okay, well, since we're on the Detroit Lions theme a little bit, okay, will the Detroit Lions be rewarded in will they be rewarded in their faith in year 2 for Jared Goff this week? Obviously, they're hosting the Philadelphia Eagles for sure. So go figure. Well, Mel, you seem to be impressed with how they appeared to be on Hard Knocks. So give me your input about what you think of the Lions this year.
I think they're going to be a tough out. I think they'll be competitive. They still haven't figured out how to finish games, I don't believe yet. But I think they have the right coach for that city. I see them, finishing somewhere like, probably with about, I see them going like 6-12, 7-11, 6-11, 6-11,
right?
7-10 is what I see. Not quite getting to 500. You just think about the teams they have to play in their division. I mean, obviously, Chicago is going to be a team that they could probably split with. They're going to have a difficult time with Green Bay and Minnesota. So it's just going to be tough within their division to get some wins. And those are teams that they play twice every year. I don't know what the rest of their schedule is, but I know that they're going to be tough and they're going to win. They're going to win a couple games that people probably will count them out of. But I think they're going to be competitive and they're going to be a tough out. You're going to know that you were in a dogfight when you play the Lions. I feel that way. That you're going to know that that those guys did not quit.
So tell me though, Mel, Jared Goff, he had no receivers or very many targets last year. How do you think he's going to go ahead and fair in year number 2. Remember, if he struggles this year, the Lions could be looking for a quarterback next year. They didn't feel there was one good enough, and they want to give him a second year with much better players and hopefully a different offensive coordinator to turn the things around. But Jared Goff, to me, this is an important year for him.
Well, Jared, I like him. Originally, I thought that he might have been a bust when he was there at Fisher, but I think that Fisher was holding him back. I think he got some good coaching with McVay, and that kind of helped him out and helped build his confidence. I like him as a quarterback because I like a tall quarterback, tall, big, strong quarterback that stands up in the pocket and you can see the ball come out. I think that he'll do. I think he's for what they want. I think he's the perfect guy for that job. You're not going to ask him to do a whole lot. You're not asking him to do things like you ask Aaron Rodgers, like you ask Tom Brady. You're not asking him to put the team on his shoulders. You're just asking him to kind of manage the game and then make throws when a throw needs to be made. Now, I know that's the same thing that the Rams asked him to do, and he did get him to a Super Bowl by doing that. Got him deep in the playoffs too, I think, another time. So I think that is something that he can do, and he can do it very well. Now, there's been talk that, after this year, I think this might be Goff's last year in his contract, or he might have another. But there's been talks of him going to Tampa Bay and replacing Tom Brady.
That'll be interesting when it happens. All right, Jennifer, what's your take about Jared Goff, Lions?
I think the Lions are going to surprise us.
Yeah.
I
What's
do
the
think
prize?
they've done a lot of work. Huh?
What's the prize? Like what? Go to the playoffs?
I actually think they're going to go above 500 this year. I could even see him going in the first round of the playoffs.
God bless you.
I don't think they're going to go much further, but I could see them because their schedule isn't that difficult, to be perfectly frank with you. And, you do have the valid point where they've got the Vikings and Green Bay to go against, but I don't know. I still think there's a chance. I think there's wild card opportunity there for them. Again, I don't know that they'll really go that far into it, but I think it's a chance. But everybody thought I was crazy when I said it about the Boston Celtics last year too. So look where the Celtics ended up.
Bless your heart.
And I'm sorry.
Bless your heart.
You might be getting a lot of you might be getting a lot of love letters from the people in Detroit listening to you.
Absolutely.
No, I think Jared Goff gets a lot of grief. Some of it deserved, most of it undeserved. I think he's not that charismatic quarterback.
Right.
He's just not. He's, when he retires, some people remember him. Most people won't. I'm not trying to be rude, but he's not going to have like a Unitas reputation. Right. So, I don't know. I think the Lions can quietly surprise us this year. Again, I don't think they're going to go far, but I do think they're going to quietly surprise us. And I think Jared Goff will, if he doesn't go to Tampa, and that's really interesting news, Mel, by the way, that if he does well this season, he'll probably get extended with the Lions.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Jennifer. If they get in the playoffs and people hear what you got to say, they're going to give you a key to that city.
Yeah, bless your heart.
No, they won't.
They will. No, you got to understand. We're really serious. If they say
we've been doing this for a number of years, so we know to kind of just temper down our expectations.
Yeah,
we don't want to get too excited.
Yeah, I know. As I said on many broadcasts before, last time that they won a championship was December 29th, 1957, and even SB admitted that he wasn't even born when they won, and he was born in 58. All right, SB. give me your take on the, Jared Goff and the Lions, SB.
Well, as you and Mel know, Jen may not know this, but I've never been a big fan of Jared Goff. Okay. I've said it on this show several times. But when I saw, we were going to talk about the Lions and Jared Goff, I assumed we were going to talk about the Lions anyway.
Right.
The last 5 games of last year, down the stretch, he really turned it on. Right. He completed like 70% of his passes. He threw for, I think it was almost 1,150 yards, 11 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions,
right,
with 107.1 passer rating.
Wow.
That's pretty darn good. I mean, and unfortunately, the Lions only went 3-2 in those last 5 games. But that kind of led me to believe that maybe the light's coming on for him in Detroit. I know he's very hyped about Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson has a great name, by the way, because I was a fan of his in the old Western. So he automatically got my attention. But I also have the thinking that if things fall right for them, they could be an over 500 team this year.
God bless you.
Yeah, God bless you. Let me give you my take. Let me give you my
I
take.
was really impressed with that last 5 games of last year. I mean, when you have 107 passer rating, you're doing a lot of things right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's a few perspectives on the Lions. Number one, DeAndre Swift has to stay healthy for a change. Number two, the addition of DJ Chark. I ought to know. I'm wearing a Jacksonville Jaguars hat, and I'll get to that in a moment. If he stays healthy, the Lions have a good wide receiver there. The kid out of Alabama, was it Jameson Williams, I think it is?
Oh, this
Yeah,
kid can fly.
you talk about a 5-year.
Yeah.
Well, but you know what's funny, though, how they acquired him through the Vikings, okay, and that trade up with a divisional team. And don't forget, Aiden Hutchinson, who I thought the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to take, they took Trayvon Walker, and you have an Ann Arbor kid in Michigan who, to me, could be the face of that franchise. So, you know what? As much as I would love to agree with Jennifer that they're going to get in the playoffs, I'm kind of like an 8-9 kind of guy a little bit. But you know what? Even if the Lions see 8-9, okay, I think there'll be room for optimism there. Because remember, last year, how many games did they lose in the final seconds of long field goals? They were in just about every game. They didn't get beat handily in just about every game. They were in every game. So, got to give I do have faith in Brad Holmes. I like Dan Campbell. Any coach that can do push-ups during training camp can't be half bad. I mean, people can't do it. And Dan, I could go on doing with the outfield. To me, Dan Campbell doing push-ups is like Jim Harbaugh throwing passes in practice, man. These players still have it in them, and they're going to keep doing it. So, all right, well, Jennifer.
9-8. 9-8, baby.
I'm calling wild card game.
Jennifer, I hope your husband is not the jealous type, because if you get a lot of love letters from Detroit, he better just go out there and do something.
He doesn't care.
Yeah, he'll just say,
we have a running joke. If either
know.
of us were going to cheat on the other, we'd ask each other how to cheat on them.
Well,
So.
I'm not going to get too. All I know is they're going to get a lot of love letters from Detroit. So that's
the games are going to be close. I mean, they're all getting paid. It's not like Alabama and Utah State. I mean, they're all getting paid there. They're all on the same level. So the game should be close, but they got to figure out how to win. They got to figure out how to win those close games. Now, like you said, last year they did win some. I think they beat Pittsburgh, or they played them to a tie or something like that.
Yeah, they tied them. At least I knew the worst that can happen was to be 16-1, but then they had a few wins, and all of a sudden they make it look legitimate. It's not so bad. I was hoping it was 16-1 because
Jameson Williams is going to be a nice addition to that offense.
I just hope they don't rush him back. I mean, the guy had that knee injury. You don't want to really want to rush him back. But he had that injury, in the national championship game. You got to be careful with those. I mean, I know he's young.
I wouldn't rush
got a
big
long term.
He might not even play this year, but that's okay because he's going to be there, and he's electric.
Well, three things have to happen there. One, St. Brown, whatever this guy's name is, out of USC.
Ron St. Brown.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Him. Okay, if he has a good year, T.J. Hawkinson gets the ball as the tight end. And then obviously DJ Chark, then at least you've upgraded and I think they got a couple of other receivers.
They don't have a lot of depth. They don't have a lot of people that you know.
No, that's true. I guess
we're gonna find out.
Yeah, but if any of those role players can make a difference, who knows what'll happen. So, all right, well, I guess people want to know why I'm wearing the Jacksonville Jaguars hat. Now is the reason why. I am looking forward to seeing Trevor Lawrence have a much better year. God only knows it couldn't have been a whole lot worse than it was with Urban Meyer. But you have a tale of two quarterbacks in this game between the Washington Commanders and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence at the helm for the Jaguars, and Carson Wentz, who, by the way, I was at the game where he got run out of Indy last year because of that poor performance in Jacksonville that saw him get booted out of there. I mean, Jim Irsay doesn't criticize quarterbacks too much, but he wasn't happy this time. And Frank Reich went out on a limb. So, so you've got Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. We're going to break this down into two parts. Steve, I'm going to lead off with you, okay? Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson, how do you like the fit?
I think it's a great fit for both of them. I think he has the ability to do everything that Peterson wants him to do. He just had a really terrible supporting cast around him as a rookie. Mm-hmm. And, bad things got worse. But I think they're going to be better this year. I don't know if they're going to be, markedly better in the win column, but they're going to be much more competitive.
Well, the culture will be a whole lot better. Travis Etienne comes back also, the guy they drafted out of Clemson.
Yeah,
Martin Jones,
he's good.
Yeah,
He's
he
really
is. So, he had, but so, all right. So on the second half, okay, Steve, tell me the fit between Carson Wentz and the Washington Commanders. We know that Carson Wentz, even Moore's had 9 lives, and Carson Wentz may be on his last opportunity. So break that one down, Steve.
I've never been a big fan of his, and he's kind of what I think of as like a front runner. When everything's going well and everything's clicking, he looks tremendous. As soon as things start to fall apart around him a little bit, he melts. And we've seen it in Philly, we've seen it with the Colts last year, and I don't think he's going to be their quarterback beyond this season.
Okay, Jennifer.
You stole the words right out of my mouth. First of all, I love Ron Rivera. Truly, I do. I'm a little biased, not going to lie. Ron Rivera is not a good quarterback coach. He truly is not. I'll preach that. However, Doug Peterson is the one who got Carson to the Super Bowl. So the spotlight is going to be on their dynamic, I think. I do agree with you, Steve. Carson's not going to be starting quarterback all season long. I don't know if it's going to be injury or what. I hope it's not injury, because I never want to see someone, have a season-ending injury, right? It just not cool, or a career-ending injury. I will say the one good thing Urban Meyer did for Trevor Lawrence was he brought Tim Tebow in to take the pressure off of Trevor. That was freaking marketing genius. Like, he's sleazy. He's every negative adjective out there, but that was genius. I think Doug Peterson will be a wonderful asset for Trevor. Having the opportunity to see Trevor throw a few balls in my day, and while he was at Clemson, he's definitely a future Hall of Famer under the right coach, under the right supporting lineup. I really don't know who's going to win this game, though. I really don't know.
Well, we ain't asking you for a prediction. We're just asking you.
No, I know. Sorry. Sorry. That was my past podcast.
If you want to go ahead and make a prediction, go ahead. Who cares?
The Jags and the Jets are probably football purgatory and have been. So I really can't. Ron's on the hot seat this year. But I don't know if that means anything in Washington. But Ron's, I know when he was in Carolina, his third season really started taking off. So we'll see.
So you mean to tell me, Jennifer, I can't drag a prediction? We're not asking you to mortgage your grandma's house or anything, or nothing like that. We want to put you in financial purgatory. Give me a score, Jen. Come on, this is a fun show. People want to learn from us. Come on, you can do it.
All right. 21-14. I think it'll be more defense or crazy plays.
In favor of who?
Commanders.
Okay, good enough. Okay, Steve, since I put Jen out there to make a prediction, why don't you give one on this one, too?
I'm going to stick with the same score, but I'm flipping it.
All right.
Jaguars.
Okay. All right, Mel, you get to size this bad boy up. Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson, how do you like the fit?
I like it. You got a former quarterback and who's coaching the team and taking over a very young talent. You think you see what he was able to do and get out of Carson Wentz and Nick Foles there in Philadelphia. I think he's going to do a great job in teaching this guy that position. I think that they will probably be show a tremendous amount of improvement over the previous year. Now, you talked about Ron Rivera. I know Jen talked about Ron Rivera not really being a quarterback coach. Most defensive coaches aren't really a quarterback coach. I mean, they want to play it safe. They don't want to put the ball in harm's way. You look at Mike Vrabel, what he's doing over there with Tennessee. all those coaches are saying, Nick Saban for the longest time. I mean, that was not really a place that you wanted to go if you were a top flight quarterback. Alabama was not. You were looked at more as a game manager, but Nick had an epiphany and he realized that he wasn't taking advantage of the rules, and he realized that in order to be able to take advantage of the rules and speed up the play and all that, he needed to change his offense. He needed to change his thought process from being so much of a defensive minded coach to taking advantage of the rules on offense and really putting up points on the board and just trying to figure things out on the defensive side of the ball. So, with Ron Rivera, he's the same kind of guy. In the NFL, you don't have that pace of play so much like you do in the college game. But I like Ron Rivera as well. And I don't necessarily, like all the pieces that he has, particularly at that position, at the most important position on the team. So it's going to be interesting to see what they're able to do in Washington. I don't know if this year is going to be the year that they turn it around just because they don't have that guy or a guy at that position. Carson Wentz, I was never really a huge fan of his, but I mean, he had that one year where he was leading, he was a leader in the clubhouse for the MVP, and then he got hurt, and Nick Foles comes out there and leads him to the Super Bowl, and he really hasn't been the same. He hasn't recovered since then. So maybe, if he's able to reclaim some of that confidence, some of that glory from that particular season, maybe Washington can have some success, but it's going to be a very difficult year for Washington.
Okay, so quick question, Mel. All right. Does Ron Rivera get Carson Wentz fixed? Not so much Ron Rivera, but will he be able to have success under Ron Rivera? Because you obviously feel positive about the Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, right? If I heard you correctly, you feel good about that one. Okay, so then let's just say, do you feel that Ron Rivera and Carson Wentz can have some success together and get him fixed?
He's the right coach for him.
Okay.
Because he's a defensive-minded coach, so he's going to protect him in a sense. He's going to want to run the football, and he's going to want to play defense. They're not healthy on the defensive side of the ball. Chase Young's not going to be available for a long time, so it's going to be an uphill climb. But fortunately, they play in the NFC least, and they'll have an opportunity. That division, you don't know. It's a toss-up. Anybody can win that division.
That's true.
So
give me a prediction in that game, Mel. Jacksonville against Washington.
I'd have to pick Jacksonville.
By what score?
21-17.
That's fair. Okay. I'll give a quick take on this one too. Doug Peterson's the best thing that could ever happen to Trevor Lawrence. I remember what he said. Forget about what last year was with Urban Meyer. Throw it out the window and bury it. It's like almost literally put it in the paper shredder. It didn't happen. And knowing Trevor Lawrence, he's so smart. Well, I won't forget about it because I learned what not to do. So at least he knows there. But in retrospect, it was a redshirt year. I think the best thing that could have happened with Lawrence is he did get connected with Peterson. We all know what Peterson did to the Eagles, and everywhere he's gone, he's been a winner. You know what? I thought that if Carson Wentz could have succeeded under anybody, he would have done it under Frank Reich, who believed in him. Did not happen. I'll give you a brief score on this one that I like Jacksonville winning this one 26-16. I really do. I think Wentz struggles. So, all right, the last game I want to talk tonight before we go to predictions is one that Steve, we talked about. Steve, well, I'm going to let you set the stage about what we did on Tuesday before I get to this final game. What did we do?
Yes, I'm the host of not one but two New England Patriots podcasts. And one of them, One Patriots Place, that I do with Tom Murphy. We call him Murph, and Claire Cooper, who's really rising NFL writer. She lives in England. She's a diehard fan. I mean, when the night game started at 1:30 in the morning over in England and they stay up and watch it, that's when you know you're a diehard. We host a show. We had Scott on. We were talking Dolphins Patriots because it's week one. Right. And we had a great time. The hour flew by. I thought we had some great conversation. We brought up some really good points. How both teams have changed a lot this year.
Yeah, they have.
Miami has a new head coach. They brought in Tyreek Hill. They brought in two really fast running backs. They have a ton of team speed. Patriots, they're still one of the oldest teams in the league because of a couple of veterans. They have 10 rookies on the roster this year. 10. That's a lot.
Real. So with that said, I'll set the stage here for this New England Patriots Miami Dolphins game. It is in Miami Sunday 1 Eastern time on CBS. Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel makes his NFL debut at age 39, the same age as Bill Belichick at the time of his first game as an NFL head coach in 1991. I believe that was for Cleveland Browns. The Dolphins have 3 straight wins over New England, and a victory would have their longest winning streak against Patriots since a 5-game stretch in 99 and 2001. The primary focus that we did discuss on Steve's show was the fact that the New England Patriots have offensive coordinators, 2 of them, and Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. And basically I said, you know what? I think Bill Belichick is going to play. So, and you can forget the other 2. I don't know whether Patricia's being brought in there for defensive input. I don't know what Judge is doing in there, except he must be pretty loyal to Belichick or vice versa to get reemployed after the New York Giants debacle. Steve, it was your show. Why don't you break down the matchup?
Well, first of all, I think they only have one offensive coordinator. That's Matt Patricia. They were experimenting with calling in plays with Joe Judge, who's now the quarterback coach. And if you want to go way back, he was a way backup quarterback at, I think it was Texas A&M.
Right.
So, no, or Mississippi. I think it was Mississippi. But anyway, and he was like bottom of the depth chart quarterback, but he did play the position. Matt Patricia's been calling in all the plays. Belichick, I think, will have more to do with the offense this year. And, we heard Mac Jones early in training camp. Everyone's been talking, well, Patricia's never been an offensive guy. His first year with the Patriots, he was assistant offensive line coach. Other than that, it's been all defense. And he said, well, Matty P, that's what they call him. He brings the defensive mindset to what we're trying to beat. In other words, when we're looking at an opponent, he's like, okay, these guys like to do this in this situation, and this is how we have to try to beat it.
Right.
So, it was ugly during the preseason. The offense was completely discombobulated, but,
right.
They were trying to install a new system. They were going for that Shanahan-McVay, / offensive system where they have the outside zone plays and the bootleg passes, and it just wasn't working. I think for this game, they're going to go back to what they know best, because I don't think Belichick's going to bang his head against the wall. I don't think we've seen the last of it. I think they'll continue to work on it, but I really think that they're going to go back to the Patriots style offenses they ran for the past 20 plus years with Belichick.
Yeah, I'm going to hold off on any opinions of Mike McDaniel. Number one, he wasn't an offensive coordinator. He's a position coach. They say he is a good offensive.
Last year he was.
Right, exactly. So I'm going to hold off on any opinion. I need to see more of them outside of reading the Dolphins transcripts at all. And, all the additions and subtractions, again, I'm not going to go anywhere out there until I get something in front of me this weekend. But, Steve, give me a prediction on this game.
Well, as bad as the Patriots have looked, and they're terrible in Miami, I'm going to drink the Belichick Kool-Aid this week.
Okay.
I think they're going to win 21-20 because McDaniel is in his first game as an NFL head coach, and it's a little different the first time out. You have a new coach, a new system. I think Miami's going to be very tough to beat this year. I think it just might take them a little while to get on track.
Okay.
And get it on with this new system. And I think that offense is going to be fun to watch. Except when we play New England.
So let me have the score again, please.
21-20.
Okay. Jennifer, you heard a lot of what Steve had to say. Give me your take on this game, matchup or whatever.
I think it'll be a really good game. So the last 3 matchups, the Dolphins have walked away with the win. Bill Belichick does not like losing at all. And so,
especially in the division.
Exactly. But hats off to Brian Flores because he did do a great job building the team. McDaniels, he's got a solid rep. So we'll see. But I actually do think the Patriots will win this one. I think it'll be I'm gonna go with 21-17.
21-17, you said, Jen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like
Mel,
your prediction better than mine.
what do you think, Mel?
I think they're making a huge mistake. I think, as much money as Bill Belichick gets paid, he's making a huge mistake by not having an offensive coordinator. They are hindering the development of a very young, talented Mac Jones. We saw what he was able to do in his first year when he had an offensive coordinator.
Right.
Now you have no offensive coordinator. You got two defensive coaches, you got one defensive coach and a guy who was coaching the Jets. He was a wide receiver coach, I think, when he was with the Patriots before he got the job coaching this guy. I can tell you that I've had the fortune to be around some very good offensive coordinators, and what the work that they put in with the quarterbacks is immeasurable. I remember when my brother, his junior year, I think he set a UCLA reception record with Troy. Troy was the quarterback. They had an offensive coordinator by the name of Coach Axman. He leaves. They name the D-line coach offensive coordinator, and he has a horrible season. He does get drafted. He ends up getting a free agent tryout with the Lions and making the team as a free agent, undrafted free agent. But he had a horrible season. When they had the defensive line coach and brought him over to the offensive side of the ball and had him be the offensive coordinator. It's not a matter of just looking at a play sheet and calling plays. It's not like playing PS5. That's not what offensive coordinator is. No, it's the time that they put in there, breaking down the film, showing them their progressions, the nuances of the game, your footwork, all those kind of things. He's going to be missing out for a year because Bill Belichick, for whatever reason, decided not to replace his offensive coordinator. I mean, I don't understand it. Now, the guy down in Miami, I don't know a whole lot about. I'm like you, Scott. I'm a reserve judgment and see.
Right.
But if I had to pick a team that was going to win this game, I'd pick the Dolphins over the Patriots because of the fact that their offense looks so dysfunctional right now.
Okay, give me a score, Mel.
24-14.
Okay, I'll give you a brief overview on this one. Number one, the offensive coordinator, Dolphins, Darrell Bevell. Last year he was with Jacksonville. He was one of the few bright spots they had up there toward the end and really did a pretty good job under some tough circumstances trying to work behind Urban Meyer's mess. Okay, and that's exactly what it was. I don't like the idea of an offensive coordinator or offensive coordinator list because that's what that was. And Tyreek Hill's worth giving. I like the addition. I just don't like the fact that he thinks that Tua Tagovailoa is better than Patrick Mahomes, other than the fact that he comes to Miami and ain't going to pay any state income tax. So the money's good because, the Dolphins are willing to pay for him. They do have speed with receivers. But really all I'm going to do is basically say I do believe that Miami will win it 21-17. I think that was the score I mentioned anyways, right, Steve?
Yes.
On your show. So I'll remain consistent with 21-17. I don't believe that any team can go without an offensive coordinator. I just don't. And
they did try to get Bill O'Brien back.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, but I think Nick Saban reminded Belichick that they don't poach off each other because they're friends. But I know that there was a lot of talk that they were trying to get back O'Brien.
Okay.
And then that fell through.
They could have had him. I would have let him go. Find me somebody else at Alabama. I'm not really a Bill O'Brien fan.
Well, you know what? Whether they were or not, I still believe in my mind, Steve, you got to have an offensive coordinator. I've always been critical of teams where you let the head coach and the offensive coordinator go every year, and then quarterbacks don't have stability at both the offensive coordinator and head coach.
Oh, it's definitely a step back from, Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
And the work that those guys put in, and, I had an opportunity, Ernie Zampese, when I was with the Rams, he just passed away.
Right.
And an excellent offensive mind. I mean, their minds work a little differently. And then they communicate different too. I mean, they're funny people, to be honest with you. I had Homer Smith for my first 3 years, I think, at UCLA. He was a different kind of guy. He left and went to Kansas City Chiefs. But I've had some great offensive minds. But the work that they put in with the quarterbacks is invaluable.
Right. Yeah, they do, and that's where I think the Patriots are missing the boat. I know I get where you're going, SB, about Bill O'Brien, but nobody's going to sit here and tell me that in a million years that they couldn't have found somebody else. And by the way, we want to thank John Gonzalez for coming here. Greetings, Scott, from the Sports Authorities Group. John is so gracious and allows me to go ahead and post all of our broadcasts in his group, and we're eternally grateful for you, John. God bless. We really enjoy putting our content in there. We appreciate the fact that you're always promoting it and helping us out there. Thank you, John, for joining us tonight. So, all right, well, we have a few minutes. Okay, we're doing pretty good on time. So everybody can make a brief Super Bowl prediction. I don't know what the Bills score is. I don't really care. Look it over later if you're DVRing it, whatever. But, all right, we're going to go with Steve Balustrory. Give me your Super Bowl prediction about who getting the NFC representation as well as the AFC representation, the matchup.
I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills over the 49ers. I mean, not the 49ers. Excuse me, the Rams.
Okay, that's pretty good. Jen?
She's got Detroit.
I did not say they're going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, I thought that's what you said. My bad.
That's all right.
I
I
said
know.
wild card.
I was gonna say Detroit to watch the expression on Mel's face, but
Well, here, before you get to it, Jen, I got to reach out to John Gonzalez, okay? Bucks versus Bills.
That's actually what I was about to say.
Really?
Like I know,
No kidding.
yeah.
Well, the Bucks better go because Brady's, he's betting his marriage right now.
Yeah, right.
Well, and here's the thing. This is where I'm confused because I firmly believe Brady's not going out a loser, but I also really truly think, and when I say believe, I mean I feel it in my gut that it's the Bills' year. So I think if it is, Brady's going to play one more season because he's not going out without a final ring.
So
Brady's been a nemesis.
He should have left 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So Jen, are you predicting
He should have.
Buffalo will win it?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. It's the Bills' season.
Okay. Hey, John, I know you're tuning in, so you're giving me the matchup. Why don't you give me the prediction, and I'll put that on there as well. While he's hopefully doing that, Mel, give me your prediction on this.
I like what John said. I like the Bucks and the Bills. Brady, he's got to save his marriage, and if he's risking it all, he might as well, win. I mean, not just go to the Super Bowl, but win it. So, I mean, I got the Bucks prevailing, and he rides off in the sunset, him and his wife and his kids, and turns around and never looks back.
Yeah, I hope that's a Clearwater Beach ending. Otherwise, it's going to get expensive. So, all right, well, I'm going to go against the norm here. I'm actually going to go with Green Bay taking on Buffalo, and I guess I have the right to do this. So, all right, John, thanks very much. Bucks win it as Brady goes out a winner. There you go, Johnny. Good job, man. I appreciate you tuning in.
Great minds think alike.
Huh? Yeah, there you go. Hey, look at that. Mel's got it down. GMTA, great minds think alike. Thank you, John. We were wondering about that. I'm actually going to put the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl, either against Buffalo or Kansas City. And I'll tell you why I'm going to do that. Because now you got Aaron Rodgers out there looking to try to see, I can win without Devontae Adams, and I'm going to break these young guys in. But the variable here in this thing will be if Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb, or Ellen Lazard can get in there and see if you can break these young pups in. So I'm going to take Green Bay coming out of the NFC. And you know what? Patrick Mahomes is one of those guys that I lost my good receiver too. So let's see if I can make something and turn that negative into a positive. So I'm going to go either Green Bay or against Kansas City, Buffalo. I can do it. It's my show. Okay. But you know what? I'm still going to be the homer of the Wisconsin people. I'm going to go with Green Bay winning it anyways. I've eaten crow before, so if I'm going to be a cheesehead eating cheese, I'll deal with it. It doesn't matter. Okay. So Wisconsin people, love you. Don't make me look like an IDOT, otherwise known as idiot. Okay. And if I don't know what the Spanish version is, don't care. But in retrospect, great.
Add an A on it. It's idiota.
Oh, is that right? And what language is that?
Spanish.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, come on, Steve. I don't know much about Spanish. All I know is uno, dos. What's number 3?
Place.
Oh, okay. Well, so now I learned a third word. The only word I ever learned is when I went out with a Puerto Rican girl who all used to call me El Stupido, and I guess that wasn't a very nice word. But
that's self-explanatory.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it does. Some of those words get spared in there. I'll just give you the extent of my Spanish background. Every time I took Spanish, I wound up back in woodshop to go to show you what my foreign language was. And one other little tidbit there is when I heard the University of South Florida was going to go out there implement the foreign language requirement, I stockpiled classes faster than the auto industry can make automobiles. I got the heck out of there, so I didn't look like Welcome Back, Connor and the Sweat Hogs. and it was expensive. So with that said, okay, now that we have our Inside the Pigskin week number 1 episode, before I get to my incredible dream team here, I'll put this out there one more time. And thanks again, John. And he says, got to say, Mel, your dad was a great player, awesome Bruin, and great pro. Hey, talk about a guy that knows his stuff, Mel. John Gonzalez,
Thank you, John.
You have a distinct admiration there. So there you go, John. We appreciate you chiming in. I love it when somebody come out here and not only contributes, but they do it in ways where, hey, you know what? You stimulate some conversation up. Like I need a whole lot to say anyway. So I'll go back to some basic station stuff, as we call it in the old media, and then I'll everybody give us their thing here. So anyways, folks, please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube, South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel, or visit www.southfloridatribune.com and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. So there you go. So, or otherwise go to youtube.com, hit South Florida, find South Florida Tribune, subscribe button. That's all she wrote. With that said, okay, Mel, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
All social media at Melfar Jr., Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And we can follow what we have going on in Atlanta and also in Detroit for the youth at melfar.org.
Okay, Jennifer, what do you got?
You can find me on Twitter at Jenna Sherrill. You can also find me on Facebook under Jen Lewis and Jenna Sherrill on IG as well. You can also find me on a litany of podcasts in conjunction with Sideline Sports. My show, 3 Chicks in a Pod, with my girls Carrie Johnson and Megan Price, Queen of Hoops. And then we're going to do another show soon, Chicks in Salsa, with Ms. Candy Everling and Megan and Carrie as well. And I keep putting an R in Candy's last name, so I'm sorry, Candy. And you can also find me in Basket Bros. I'm the producer there. That's Sunday nights, Monday nights during the season, NBA Carousel. I'm the Boston Celtics rep, as well as the producer. I'm also on Cubfidential, the best late night Cub talk show, 11 p.m. Eastern time. We've got 3 weeks left, 3 painful weeks left this season. And then we also have Pundit on Wednesday nights, NFL Carousel on Thursday nights, as well as Inside the Pigskin.
Very good. And I've joined the Pundit program on Wednesday nights with Jacob Christner. I really had a lot of fun on it last night. Oh, that was a lot of fun. I'll be doing Basket Pros on Sunday night, and I'm going to have an opportunity to go on one at least Saturday night. So a lot of good stuff. All right, Steve, that leaves it to my partner in crime, my right-hand man, and everything that goes there. All right, Mr. Steve Balustrory, the jack of all trades, my hero in the military, and everything else. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Steve B 7SFG, also on Instagram there. Everything else on social media at Steve Balustrory. I write for PatsFans.com, covering the NFL and the Patriots, and I'm a national security columnist for 1945.com, covering the military and political stuff that's going on all over the world.
Yeah, Steve helps me out on a lot of other broadcasts when needed. He's really great there. He's a great sounding board mentor of sorts. And, and of course, a shout out to Candy Ebling. Thanks, Jen, who goes out there, does a marvelous job keeping the broadcast on there and putting all the content. And also you can reach us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Great show by my outstanding crew. And I'm looking forward to having this crew throughout the NFL season. Every one of you guys brings a great dimension of the broadcast. And I am so proud to be around such classy individuals. I got 3 of the best right here in front of me. So with that said, okay, on behalf of Steve Balustrory, Jen Lewis, and Melfar Jr., I want to thank you for joining us in this edition of Inside the Pigskin. I ask you guys to have a great football weekend, and we will look forward to doing it better next Thursday night. Good night, everybody, and thanks again, John Gonzalez. We appreciate your contribution to the broadcast. Good night, everybody.
The NFL is back, baby.